Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Declan Kidd. Declan Kidd is one of our most senior instructors here at M.A.I. Everybody's always asking me questions, many different questions about Declan Kidd, so I thought I would take it upon myself to interview him and ask him a few questions and get the answers that everybody's always asking me about. So, welcome.
Thank you.
The very first thing I wanted to ask you is just, I know I'm going to know all the answers to these questions probably, but everybody else is going to want to know them. So, how did you get involved and how did you get started in martial arts?
Well, it's a really long time ago, but I think I was kind of a chubby kid. In fact, I was probably very chubby into early adulthood. And so my parents and my grandparents decided that I needed to do something. As well as that, I was kind of a very easygoing, very easy to bully child, so they thought that maybe taking up a martial art might make me fit and obviously more capable of defending myself. So that's how I started. That's how I got into it. So originally, I suppose the real reason was fitness and self-defence. On a long-term basis, I started off in Kempo Karate, which was probably the most prominent style of karate in Ireland at the time. I started in 1974 when I was 9 years of age, and there weren't that many karate clubs around Dublin, so I started in Kempo there. Did a bit of boxing locally as well because I didn't feel that I was learning how to use my hands properly, and I did a bit of judo because the clubs in those days were very part-time. You maybe got to train once a week if you were lucky, and if the heating broke down or something like that, there was no class at all on. So I just diversified, tried to keep as much to the Kempo as I could, but it didn't work out that way because the clubs were always opening and closing, so I diversified a lot. So I suppose mostly in the early days Kempo Karate and boxing, but then the one club that did open in my own area and stayed open for a very long time was the Shotokan Karate Club. So that became my main style for the guts of 20 years. I stuck at Shotokan Karate for the guts of 20 years, get my second dan in it eventually.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realise that, like in Ireland, I mean, even 10 to 20 years ago, I mean, kickboxing, as we know it today, wasn't really around. It wasn't as popular. It was Kempo, it was Taekwondo, and traditional karate. They were the main staples of martial arts that was involved in Ireland at the time. Next question I want to ask is a hard enough question, but what would you consider your most memorable achievements to be so far in all your years of doing martial arts? Because I know what they are, and I know you've done a lot. Because I've met you. I actually met you from in a competition. Was the first time I met you. So if you just let people know kind of that you competed and things like that.
Again, competition-wise, I was very successful from some points of view, and then from my own point of view, not successful enough. So to quote my achievements, I'm not going to, funny enough, refer to competitive success. What I'm going to do is I'm going to refer back to a change in attitude in my approach to martial arts. Instead of being what I would call a Sunday warrior or a once-a-week trainer, as I was in the early days of my martial arts, even though that wasn't really my fault, it was because of what was available, I changed my attitude when I was about 30. I needed to lose weight. I thought, 30 years of age, don't start losing weight now. So I switched completely from traditional styles into kickboxing. And obviously because kickboxing is a little bit more agile, a lot more movement, a lot more hitting stuff, I started to see the weight losses then pretty much immediately. So I think my biggest achievement really was the change of attitude, looking outside the box, looking away from traditional that I had really beaten into my heart and soul then. In fact, I would have been one of the greatest defenders of traditional martial arts in its days. And to a degree I still am, but I'm more a defender now of a modern attitude towards training. So I think that was my biggest achievement, was just seeing that what I was doing was wrong and doing something to change it.
It's a very, very humble answer, because also I will mention competitively, I mean, you're one of the very few fellas in the country to have represented Ireland in traditional karate and in kickboxing. There's not a lot of people in the country that can lay that claim. Most people it's one or the other, and I mean, I do think that you've been there for both eras, through the popular traditional karate and also through the modern kickboxing era as well.
The difference between somebody who's good at a sport and the difference between somebody who's not successful at a sport is not necessarily, how hard they train. It's how their mental attitude towards competition. In other words, not doing the kind of old-fashioned thing where, okay, losing is not so bad because you made the effort of trying to win, but hey, that's not really the truth, is it? Because the gold medal is what matters in sports, and as soon as people start changing their attitude towards that, sure, and start winning more golds in the Olympics and World Championships and everything else.
Next question I had for you is, what classes do you teach here at M.A.I? Because you actually teach a wide variety of different classes, so just let people know what classes that you actually teach.
Okay, my regular classes, the ones that I do day in and day out, I teach the beginners kickboxing classes, usually at 7 o'clock on Monday and Wednesday. So they're for everybody, and it's kickboxing, which involves fitness, pad work, bag work, etc., stretching. I also teach the children, and children can be a little bit more of a challenge, because obviously, like, not every child in the world is the best mannered child, and not every child in the world is the slimmest, not every child is the most flexible. So it's a really, really diverse approach to training, but very enjoyable because it's a challenge not just for them, but also for me. But one of my favourite classes, and again, this kind of surprises some people based on their attitude towards me when I first started training, is cardio kickboxing, because again, I think it's progression through your training. When you realise that, you know, you can hit a punch bag too little, but you can also hit a punch bag too much, and your body needs to recover from impact. So just like boxers do, they do shadow boxing when they need to do more work and they don't only punch in a punch bag. It helps you adjust your technique. But years and years ago, Billy Blanks introduced a system called Toibo, and Toibo was great, but I find that Toibo doesn't concentrate enough on good kickboxing techniques. So what I tried to do was take, you know, the elements of a really, really good system for getting fit, but try to stay a little bit more loyal to good kickboxing technique while we're doing it. So we do cardio kickboxing as well on Monday and Wednesday, and since it's such a real sweat fest, it's my favourite class by a long shot, and it's very relaxing as well.
I have to say the cardio kickboxing is a lot more popular with women than it would be the men. But I mean, as somebody that's actually participated in all of your classes, I think the cardio is one of the hardest workouts of the lot. I mean, I like the sparring classes, I like all different classes, I like the kickboxing classes. But I have to say the cardio is one of the, I mean, even for coordination and for fitness, if you're looking to fat burn, it's the cardio class really is one of the best ones for it.
What I'd say about the cardio,
and all the women know that. The guys are a bit slower to catch on, but I think it's one of the toughest classes.
The cardio is a bigger challenge, because generally when you're training in kickboxing, you do it in a kind of a round system, just like we were fighting. So you do your round, you take a break, you do your next round, whatever it is, you take a little bit of a break. There's no real flow to it, because once you've hit the pads or whatever, you're encouraged to get back into a guard, do some footwork. Whereas the cardio, if you do a technique like 3 punches and a kick, it's 3 punches kick, 3 punches kick, 3 punches kick, no break. You keep moving the whole time. The whole time. Even if you're taking water, you're encouraged to keep moving, even if it's just pacing on the spot. So obviously the calories burned, the fat burn is going to be much higher in a class like that. So it is a real challenge.
What do you most like about teaching?
I'd have to say it's just giving back. You know, I mean, teaching it's rewarding in its own way, because it does encourage you to have a look at your own technique and see other people coming along. But it's the feeling of giving back to something that has given me everything. I mean, martial arts, my life would be so different without martial arts. One, I think I'd be a lot heavier, because I'm an ectomorph. In other words, I tend to be towards the fatter side if I don't do exercise. So without my martial arts, I definitely wouldn't be as healthy a person as I am. Two, I know it has saved my backside on the street a few times. But generally, I think it's the feeling of giving back to a system, to a style, to a sport, to an attitude, to martial arts in general. It always makes me feel good that I'm doing that. It's the most. That's what drives me the most in teaching.